is felt most when it's genuine. I had my share of love abuse, manipulated, and its strength.
Hello, my name is Chikeitha Owens, licensed professional counselor and of Hope Counseling. The month of October is not only Breast Cancer and Cancer Awareness Month, but it is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. For the month of October, I will be doing various segments, educating and advocating along with the Texas Council of Family Violence. And today I have here Miss Addie Morgan Taylor, who is an ordained minister. She is also an author, and she has written her latest book, When Passion Meets Purpose. Miss Addie has also created her passion, Storge House of Love, which I will allow her to share more with you about that. But today we're just going to be learning from Miss Addie, as well as her sharing some of her story about her experience with domestic violence. So thank you all for sharing with us today and being here with us today. And please share this video with as many people that you know that may be affected by domestic violence, because it is so real. Okay, Miss Addie, thank you for coming today to share your story. I am so excited to have you here today. And so one of the things that I would like for you to do is first just introduce yourself to everyone, and then we can share more about your book and your purpose and what you do.
Okay, well, good morning. As Chikeitha stated, I am Addie Morgan Taylor. I am, I'll say, the associate minister at Heaven's Journey Fellowship Church in Wiley, Texas. I am a licensed ordained minister. I am the CEO and president of SHOL, SHOL, which is Storge House of Love, Inc., a transitional home for men, women, and youth coming out of incarceration. And I've also, as she stated, written my first book, is When Passion Meets Purpose.
All right, awesome. And this is a really good book. I've read it, and I'm probably going to be reading it again soon. It's a really good book. So, Miss Addie, can you tell us a little bit about Storge House of Love and what your mission is for that organization?
Storge House of Love is centered around support for men, women, and youth coming out of incarceration. I had no idea in 1997, I was just speaking in general, that when people go to jail or whatever, that they deserve an opportunity. When they go, they serve their time, and they should be welcomed back into society. And I do remember making this statement that even though my children are young and I'm raising boys, I never know where my children will end up at or what choices they may make in life. And even at that time, I said that I would want somebody to love and respect them for whom God has created them to be, and not for the mistakes they made. So I never knew that in 1997, when I said that in the year 2017, God would take that thought and turn it into what is now a 501c3 nonprofit organization to help support, to actually rehabilitate these people coming out of incarceration, so that we can lessen the reentry number of people returning back. So that's my passion right now, just to help men, women, and youth when they get in trouble, they get incarcerated, but to know that there's a true support system to help them when they get out and to fit back into society.
That is awesome, 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 awesome. And so one of the questions that I have for you, because I know that you're helping a lot of men, that your organization is set up to be able to help women as well. how do you think, with this month being Domestic Violence Awareness Month, how would what we're talking about today as far as domestic violence also play a role with the population that you serve?
Because a lot of offenders, men and women, are probably incarcerated for that very act of domestic violence. And it is very serious, but however, it can be used in the wrong way as well.
Yes.
Because some people are, they have committed what is known as domestic violence, but now just a threat can be considered domestic violence. Even if it's just over the phone or if it's in a text message or an email, that's a threat and that can be held against you. And then there are even women who have committed domestic violence to men. And there's times when people will make up a story and can just call in and say that they're threatened or they feel threatened, and these people can be arrested. And once this call is made, even if the male or female try to back out, the state is taking it over and it's still going forward. And my oldest son at one time, if he doesn't mind me saying, kind of had an incident like that. A phone call was made, but the person never showed up for court. However, he had to just keep going through and keep going through and keep going through. And it just takes so much out of your daily life to prove your innocence, whereas some people can use it as a joke. And then we have, as far as my youth, well, that's they may have lived in a domestic violence home or whatever, but mainly for the men and women, as far as this month, for the month of October, and talking about domestic violence, it has happened on both ends, male and female.
And so just bringing our conversation around and making it a little bit more personal for you.
Okay.
I know that in your book, you speak on a lot of the experiences that you've experienced being in domestic violence relationships and how you were affected by it. And, you know, not only you, you know, but it affected your whole family as a whole, just being in situations like that and not having, you know, the proper resources and knowing where to go to get the help that you needed. So who do you feel like was your support system during the time that you were experiencing your domestic violence?
A lot of the domestic violence I say that I was involved in was like in the late 80s, early 90s. And they were just very good friends that I had known since childhood. And it puts you in a time and a place of embarrassment. So you really don't even want to talk about it. You try to let as few people as possible even really know what you're going through, but you do have to have help. I have some friends, Carolyn Turner, very, very good friend of mine, like a sister, that lived there in Monroe, and that was a safe haven for me and my children. I have some other friends, Kathy Bowie, a classmate that we go back all the way to kindergarten. When certain things would go on, you know, or I would be stranded without a car where me and my kids couldn't get around, you know, I could give her a call. And even living in Houston at one point, not being able to get around and to do things that I needed to do, just being emotional abuse, where that I couldn't get out to do things that like to keep me confined. I had a friend there, Thelma Williams, who came and took care of me and my kids, and they did so much for me. Sarah Norman, a friend of mine who lives in Bastrop. All these people I can never ever repay for the things that they have done for me and my children. And had they not been there, I don't know what could have happened, or my state of mind to retaliate because I'm just fed up and I have nobody to go to. So it could have turned ugly. You know, it much uglier than the actual abuse I went through. It could have went a totally different way.
But God.
But God.
But God.
But God.
And so, one of the things that I want to do, I don't want to share too much about her book because I want you all to go out and purchase you a copy. Again, that's When Passion Meets Purpose.
And I do keep those books on hand.
Okay, and she keeps these books on hand. So if you wanted a personal copy, you'll see below somewhere where you can reach out to her. I'll make sure that I provide the link to her website and also to her Facebook page because she has a Facebook page for her book, but you can also search it, When Passion Meets Purpose. And so I want you all to go out and purchase this book. She has a beautiful story about how she overcame domestic violence and all of the things that she experienced. But I just want to thank you again for taking the time out to be able to
speak. It's a pleasure.
On behalf of Domestic Violence Awareness Month and just to educate people about the realness of domestic violence because it's so real and it comes in so many forms. Some people think of domestic violence as just being physical, but it's not. Domestic violence can be mentally and emotionally draining. Domestic violence and now I'm going to have a segment that we'll do so you guys tune in on Old School, New School about how it's different. You know, back in the day, back in the 80s or, you know, even before then, the abuse was so different as to what it looks like now. Now we got all this media. We got Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. We got all these social media channels along with our cell phones. And so there's cyberbullying going on. There's so much going on with technology, and it's being misused, and people are being abused on it, even texting, you know. And so the goal of Domestic Violence Awareness Month and what I'm setting out to do this month is to just meet people where they at, educating them, and also advocating. So make sure you share this on all of your channels. If you can share it on Instagram, if you can share it wherever you can share it, please share it. And so we will be reaching back out and sharing more. So I'm looking at the contents of your book and they seem very interesting. And you have this one chapter that's called As the Wind Changes, So Does the Seasons of Life. And when I read that, it just really sparked something in me. So I'm just wondering, like, what was that about? What were you thinking about when you wrote that chapter?
As the wind changes, so does the season of life. That just kind of talks about how life changes. You know, you can have a sunshiny day in the morning. You can have strong winds can come through by midday, and then you could be in a storm by night. And in real life, it can happen just that way. And so this right here in this particular chapter kind of what it does relate to what you said about the old school, new school type of way of domestic violence. Because some things are so covered up that you don't even really know that you are already in a violent situation. Reading on page 20 of that particular chapter, I mentioned that, well, actually it's on page 26, where I said, time has passed by for several months and some small things start to uncover. Things like when we are riding in the car and we hear a car horn blow. I better not look around or I'm being pinched. I'm so caught up that I don't know what is going on. Can't tell that I'm being mistreated on the sly. I'm so clueless. All I do is giggle and say, stop. But the look on his face is saying, I'm not playing. Now, being hit, slapped on the leg has been added to the pinches as shallow bruises are showing up. I would say each time, stop, that hurts. Then he would hit harder and I hit back. Still so very oblivious. This treatment went on and on as the pinches and the slaps got more intense each time. So what I'm saying is jealousy. That was a period of jealousy on his part. But I was so clueless that when he would reach over and slap me on my leg as to get my attention, like, who you looking at? Why are you looking around? Is that somebody that know you? I didn't know that was abuse. I did not know that the abuse had already started. Controlling. And it was after I had gotten out of it and started to reminisce and look back when the Lord was preparing me to write this book, that I was being abused even then. And so a person would say, well, why did you marry him? I didn't know. I didn't realize that that was abuse. To walk in the store and if somebody calls your name and you look around, then you will be accused of who you looking for. Who is that man? Is that somebody you know? You know, just those type of things. So if you're living in that type of situation, when you think a person loves you so much that everywhere you go, they want to take you, they want to drive you, that's not love. That's a controlling spirit. And we get caught up as women because we're looking for love when we really don't know what to look for, especially if we were not raised in a loving environment. I was raised by elderly people. My mom and dad were very loving to each other. But the things that I encountered, they were already too old and passed by that period. So I had to learn a lot of stuff just living through it. And then one other thing I want to share to women, especially to women, when you write your story, people might say, well, why are you telling that? And when you tell your story, you're degrading the person or you're bringing down the person who was the abuser at that time. Now, the hurt that they think you may cause on that person by telling your story is nothing. No comparison to the hurt that you live in when you're going through the mistreatment. As you say, whether it's physical, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, because it affects you. You can't even go to church because you're embarrassed. When you sit and you cry and you ask the Lord to take your life because you too scared to, because all you can remember is that if you take your own life, you will go to hell. So you feel like you can bargain with God and say, well, if you take it, I still have an opportunity to go to heaven. It's okay to tell your story, because through this book and what you'll read, you'll still see that God healed me. The love of Jesus healed me, and I became to have compassion, love, concern for the very person who took me through all this. So that's the thing, that you don't stay in that you get healed. I could talk about it. I can talk about it, and I don't go into a rage. I don't get mad all over again. It don't become fresh and new to me all over again. I can use it now to help somebody else. And what was so hurting to me at one point was when I would hear the words, what you're going through is to help somebody else. I could not understand that. How can my being hit upside the head at close range with a can, or having a gun put in my face, or just being drugged by the hair, how can going through these things be to help someone else? But as we just said, but God.
Yes.
But God, I am a survivor. We always recognize people with cancer, breast cancer, and they walk around and they show the signs saying, I'm a survivor. But it is such a blessing to be a survivor of domestic violence. And a lot of people who would sit and talk in conversation, girl conversations, and say, oh, I'd never take that. I would never put up with that. Then you find out that they are taking even worse.
Yes.
And we belittle one another instead of helping, because we become ashamed to tell our story. And so I just want to let people know and encourage them. You have a story. You may not put it in a book, but you have a story to tell someone else that they can live through it. They can live out of it. They can live their way out of that. There are people There are organizations, which I know you're going to share later, but there is someone who cares.
Yes.
And I didn't know that the Lord was.
So, as we walk through the month of October, I want everyone to just keep in mind that this is a powerful month and there's so much going on, so many different activities and things that you can contribute to be a part of, donating to the cause. Of course, with SHOL, Storge House of Love is a nonprofit organization as well, which you're also free to donate to as well. Before we close, one of the things that came to me as I was thinking about the month of October, I was also thinking about not only domestic violence, but I was thinking about cancer awareness as well. And one of the things that came to my mind was about all of the people that are struggling with cancer, breast cancer, whatever type of cancer they're struggling with, and suffering with domestic violence as well, and having the two of those um, things going on in their lives. And so I was just talking to Miss Addie about it, and we were talking about what that looks like. And so she's just going to share her thoughts as well.
I know that has to be really rough, because just even dealing with either one by itself is hard. Though I have never had breast cancer, but have had and lived through domestic violence. And a person like that is very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
They could really feel that the person has their best interest at heart, but it's a cover-up way of being abused to maybe not let them go socialize with their family or friends, want to just keep them enclosed. And so it's just so many things that we don't recognize.
Yes.
To know that this is not love, this is a controlling spirit. Mm-hmm. And that controlling spirit is still associated with domestic violence. Yes. So they need someone to talk to. So by you sharing those outlets at the end of this, to let them know who they can reach out to, but you have your pastor. You have, there's got to be a dear friend that you've known and trusted. Mm-hmm. But you can call me. You can hit me up on Facebook, which is Addie Morgan Taylor. And I have to study because I got my name in so many different ways. But my Facebook page is Addie Morgan Taylor. You can hit me on Storge House of Love. And I have a Facebook page for When Passion Meets Purpose. So any of those you can write a comment to me. I'll be glad to talk to you. My number will be available. You can call me. I'm sure you can call Chikeitha. There are people who are willing to help you, and you don't have to worry about your business being told.
Yes.
You know, that as in a form to hurt you. We're just here to help you and to let you know that there is help. There is a way out. And to just love on you and let you know that you can be healed. Yes. My book is $20. And last year I did, for every book that was sold, $5 was donated to domestic violence awareness, or just donated to a individual who needed help. But this year I'm on 7, the number of completion, to say that this will be the last year that you will go through this, or that whomever is going through this, that this will be their last year. We're speaking completion in the area of domestic violence. So for every book that you buy, $7, the number of completion will be given. And we are declaring and decreeing that this year will be the last year.
Yes, amen. Amen. And so one of the things that, as we wrap all of this up, I just want everybody to make sure that you follow her on Facebook and look up her site, look up her book, and donate as well to the cause. And so I think that is all. I just want y'all to stay tuned. Make sure y'all share this video. If y'all know any individuals going through cancer, domestic violence. And if you feel like this video may help them in any way, please share. And there will be more. So thank you all. And
thank you.
Thank you for coming.
But it would not fall, would not bend, won't compromise. God favors me. I spoke life and prosperity. I even spoke health